And we're back with another Math Notes video. This is section 3.2.3, properties of real numbers. We're going to talk about a couple properties of numbers here. Some of these you'll be familiar with. You should be familiar with all of them. You may just not know the names. So let's talk about them. First thing we're going to look at is the commutative property. Commutative sounds a lot like commuter, and there's a reason for that. They both have to do with moving things around. It states that when adding or multiplying two or more numbers or terms, order is not important. So A plus B is the same thing as B plus A. Or A times B is the same thing as B times A. For example, 2 plus 7 is the same thing as 7 plus 2. And 3 times 5 is the same thing as 5 times 3. So we can move those numbers around, and as long as we're just adding them together or multiplying them, let me be careful with that. As long as we're only adding them or only multiplying them, we can move them around. Another example, particularly on the multiplicative part, would be something like 3x square root 2, which is really 3 times x times square root 2, is the same thing as 3 square root 2 times x, or x times square root 2 times 3. Sometimes you'll see these written in different ways. Some students will get confused. Don't be one of the students. It's all the same thing. There's 3 things being multiplied together. They're all the same quantity because of that commutative property. However, subtraction and division are not commutative. We can't just go moving them around willy-nilly. And that is because 7 minus 2 is not the same thing as 2 minus 7. So 7 minus 2 is 5. 2 minus 7 is negative 5. Those are not equal. So we can't do that with subtraction. Same thing with division. 50 divided by 10 is not the same thing as 10 divided by 50, since 50 divided by 10 is 5, and 10 divided by 50 is 0.2. Also, I hate that they wrote that division that way. We're in high school, so this should be 50 divided by 10 like so, and 10 divided by 50 like so. The associative property states that when adding or multiplying 3 or more numbers or terms together, grouping is not important. So they can associate with whomever they like, and you'll still get the same answer. So associative property is who they associate with or who they hang out with. So for example, if we have A plus B inside parentheses, then we add 5, that's the same thing as having B plus C inside the parentheses and then adding A. For example, 5 plus 2 inside our parentheses there would give us 7 plus 6, which would be 13, and that is the same thing as 5 plus 8, which is also 13. Likewise, multiplication has this property. So A times B times C is the same thing as A times B times C. So for example, if we did the 5 times 2 first, we would get 10 times 6, and we know that would give us 60. And on the right, if we did the 2 times 6 first, that would give us 12 times 5, which would also give us 60. So again, addition and multiplication are both commutative properties. Associative properties. They're also commutative properties. However, again, subtraction and division are not associative. So if we do them in different orders, we get different answers. Taking those same problems from above, if we did 5 minus 2 first, that would give us 3. 3 minus 3 is 0. Here, if we did the 2 minus 3 first, that would give us negative 1. 5 minus negative 1 would be 6. 0 does not equal 6, so that does not work. Likewise, for division, it doesn't work. If we did 20 divided by 4, that gives us 5. divided by 2, again with the division written like this, is 5 over 2, 2.5. And if we did this, we would have 2 divided by 2, which would be 10. And 2.5 does not equal 10. So it does not work with subtraction and division. Careful with that. Distributive property. You see this guy a lot. Distributive property states that for any 3 terms, A, B, and C, A times the quantity of B plus C is equal to A times B plus A times C. A lot of times you'll see teachers do this little arrow thing here, like we're pairing the A up with the B and then pairing the A up with the C to get AB plus AC. That is when A multiplies a group of terms such as B plus C